all the clothing and the gear that we wear for our reenactments and living history demonstrations is authentic to the 1870s, 80s, and 90s. For instance, if you look at Adam here, he is a well-dressed cowboy of the 1880s right here, from the wide brim hat. Note it's not a modern period cowboy hat with a cattleman's crease. This is an open crown hat. It started out as an open crown hat, and he has shaped it to his own preference. The wide brim was to keep the sun and the rain off of you. It's not curled up on the sides like you see in most modern cowboy hats. So you'll definitely need, depending on your impression, you'll need a very period hat. It could be, if your impression is someone that lives in town, it could be a bowler or a derby. But pick something that is appropriate for the impression that you choose. The scarf that he's wearing, most people would refer to that as a bandana now. That really was not a period term. Most people would refer to it as a scarf or a neckerchief. And we're both sporting one of those today. It's warm. We've been able to wipe our faces with it, but there's plenty of uses that are documented for a bandana. The vest is a notched collar. It's got a full wraparound collar, very, very indicative of the period. 4 pockets. Again, it's actually made out of corduroy, very period material. Also, wool is appropriate. Not a whole lot of the cotton duck and the trousers like you see in a lot of the single action shooting catalogs, that type of thing. Didn't really see a whole lot of that back then. Very period cotton shirt, cotton linen, that type of thing is very appropriate, or a wool overshirt. A lot of cowboys would have chosen something along those lines. Period gun leather. Note this is not a modern Buscadero rig that's tied down and worn really low on the hip. This is a very authentic style to the 1880s and 90s. It rides higher and secures the gun a little bit more readily available on the hip right there. The trousers he's wearing, again, very appropriate to the period. They're high-waisted like most 19th century pants are. They do have suspender buttons if you prefer to wear suspenders, or braces as they were called during the period. They have those buttons there for that. Many cowboys, like you see me wearing, preferred to not wear suspenders. It was easier for them to move and to get around. Again, that's a personal preference that you can choose. The boots he's wearing are a high top boot, very, very period, very classic cowboy look. These are not modern cowboy boots with lots of stitching. This is something that's extremely well documented to the period. Also, you've got the spur straps down there with a very those are California pattern spurs in the back that he's wearing. Those are original spurs.
Okay.
What?
They're August Berman.
Or Berman spurs. I'm sorry, August Berman. Okay, spurs. And again, everything that we're doing out here that we're recreating is thoroughly researched and documented to the period, and this is not something that you can pick up at Walmart or at Goodwill, as many living history associations do. These are things that need to be tailored very specifically for the period and for the impression that you're doing.
So we're going to talk a little bit about clothing of the 1880s and 1890s today. And Mr. Keister here is sporting what we call a three-piece sack suit. And so that consists obviously of a sack coat here, a waistcoat or a vest with notch collars as you see, and a pair of trousers. This particular sack suit is made out of wool. It's 100% wool. You would have also found them made out of corduroy, which I'm actually wearing a vest and a pair of trousers made from corduroy, which would have come from the same sack suit. And the point that I'd like to make is that most people during the era would have dressed like this on a daily basis. The sack suit, especially by the 1870s, kind of became the go-to day-to-day garment, so to speak, or three-piece garment, etc. Whether you were in town or going to some sporting function or whatever the case might be. But the point that I want to make is with this particular sack suit, this was a store-bought clothes at the time. It would be the same, maybe parallel to, I don't know, a pair of blue jeans and a t-shirt today. People essentially wear a pair of blue jeans and t-shirt just about anywhere. And back then, things were a little bit more formal. And so you see that he has his shirt collar fully buttoned with his tie there, and you'll see that I have my shirt collar fully buttoned. My sleeves are rolled down, they're not rolled up, and his trousers are untucked, they're not tucked into his boots. Now obviously I'm portraying a cowboy here, so I have a totally different look. But the point that I wanted to make is that with a sack suit, it's also a very useful garment, and cowboys would have worn a sack suit as well. The sack coat obviously comes in handy for those chilly days. So this would be the second segment of this, and this illustrates how a cowboy would have taken a sack coat. Obviously here again he's just got it buttoned, and then he's got a notch-collared vest from the same sack suit that he's wearing. Now Paul is wearing a pair of corduroy trousers, but there's nothing that says that he couldn't be wearing the same matching trousers. Also would like to make a point that sack suits didn't always match. The three-piece matching sack suit we call a ditto suit. But anyway, he's made use of these garments, and this is another classic cowboy look. He's obviously thrown on his chaparetas or chaps or leggings, depending on what part of the country you're from, which would have been used to protect from thorny brush, mesquite, things of that nature. And also a point about the hat. His hat has been reshaped, as we mentioned earlier, and he's added a neckerchief there. And the neckerchief obviously has many uses in terms of it could be a blindfold for a horse, keep your neck warm in the winter, add some extra warmth. You could also tie it over your hat to secure your hat and keep your ears warm in the winter. It could be used as a rag. It could be used for a variety of different things.
As we mentioned previously, we shoot blanks out here. We're not shooting real bullets, but we are using real guns. And as a reenactor today, you have a lot of different choices for the weapons that you use. Many of us carry a Colt single action Army pistol. You can get these in 45 Colt, 44-40, and any really number of calibers that are out there today. As long as you can find blanks for it, it's a good fit for your impression. Go for it. We have a variety of rifles. Rich here is carrying the model 1873 Winchester. Paul has a model 66 Winchester. There are other pistols. We've got copies of Smith & Wesson pistols. We've got copies of Remington pistols like Adam's got right here. There's really no end to the variety that you can use to carry, but pick something that's appropriate to your impression, or if you have multiple impressions, you'll have maybe multiple weapons. All the things that we do, again, are thoroughly researched, and we try to vet everything that we do before we bring it into the field. There are also a myriad of long guns that you can carry, from the Spencer rifle, the Sharps rifle. There's lots of shotguns. A lot of our guys own shotguns. It's an easy, cheap way to get into the field. We do try to stay away from cap and ball or percussion revolvers that were common more to the 1850s and 60s. Certainly they were still around in the 1870s and 80s, but as times progressed, many people, especially cowboys and shooters, preferred to carry a cartridge revolver with fixed ammunition. It was much more prevalent on the frontier. We strive to be authentic in everything that we do for Images of the American West, from the saddle pockets that we carry, the chaps that we wear, even down to things like period correct cartridge boxes for the blank ammunition that we use, even a can of peaches, something super simple like that, but it's a small detail that a lot of folks don't see in the modern world, and that it's rare to see anywhere other than maybe sometime in the movies. We try to be as authentic as possible in everything that we do. Obviously, as you can see, we've got a lot of different impressions here. As Adam pointed out, the sack suit is a great look, and you can use a sack suit to create multiple different looks, from a cowboy, a gambler, just a town person, a town marshal, a sheriff. There's many different ways you can take that, so it's a very versatile three-piece garment. And what you do with your impression is ultimately up to you. You can be whoever you want to be. We just research it thoroughly, and then we pick the pieces that we need for that impression. And again, we would love to have you come out and play with us. We've always looking for new folks.